Welcome everyone to the 209 Journey podcast. I'm your host, Luis. And before I introduce my special guest tonight, I do want to make a special announcement because I've been wanting to actually have this for a long time and it's finally now a thing. But we now have a website, 209journey.com. It's the place where you can listen to episodes. You can watch some of the episodes as well, since I have my YouTube channel connected to it. If you want to leave a comment on a specific episode, you can do so because every episode gets a page. Or if you just want to send me a message, ask a question, maybe be on the show perhaps as well, I do have a contact form there. So if you want to fill that out, that gets sent to me and I'll check it out. So again, the 209journey.com. Really excited for that. And if you're watching me right now, again, I invite you to actually subscribe on the YouTube channel. That's where you're watching me at, so you can find out when new episodes get posted. And if you're listening, then press that follow button, or it might also say subscribe on your favorite podcast app. So with that being said, let me go ahead and introduce my special guest tonight. Her name is Brenda Martinez Ortiz, and she actually owns a face painting business called About Face. So we'll be learning more about what her business is about, and also different events that she's been in, as well as other things, of course. So welcome to the 209 Journey, Brenda. How are you?
Thank you. I'm good. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, no, thank you for being on as well. Again, reached out to you a few weeks ago, and I'm really excited that we were able to get it coordinated this week because I have a few episodes to record. So glad it worked out.
Yeah, me too.
So I want to go ahead and get started just learning more about how you made it to 209. I know you were telling me that you're from Mexico and then you moved to San Jose at an early age. And then 13 years ago, you moved to Manteca. Now you're in Stockton. So just tell me how the move happened and how it's been like for you here in the 209.
It's been really good. It's hot. It's been 13 years and I'm still not used to the heat. This week isn't helping either. But yeah, I was originally born in Mexico in Sonora, and came over with my mom when I was, I think, maybe 2, and then moved from Los Angeles to San Jose, and I grew up in San Jose. But later, when I was an adult and met my husband, we moved to Manteca when we were first started dating. We were dating a while, but it was about 13 years ago. And we just purchased our house. I mean, I'd say just, but it's been a few years now. We purchased our house in Stockton, near Yosemite Street Village, end of 2020. So we went all of lockdown in Manteca and then started looking for homes and really just found this really great house in Stockton. And I was always hesitant to kind of venture into, but I love the neighborhood that we're in. It's beautiful, and I've really found community here, so it's been really good.
Oh yeah, no, I'm really glad to hear that. I mean, there's different communities around the 209, and to find your place, especially when you move to a new city. I know it's like not that far from Antigua. It's still like, of course, like you don't really know, right, what to what to expect, especially coming from a city that you lived in for quite some time.
Yeah. Well, I knew a couple of our neighbors when we lived in Manteca, but nothing like this. I mean, there's Terra Coffee that we can walk to, and the kids' school is really close, and we actually know our neighbors now. There's a lot of things that I'm involved with, and in Yosemite Street Village, so it's really been really great for our family.
Oh yeah, no. Speaking of Terra Coffee, I actually interviewed Laura too, so I'm
Yeah,
glad
yeah,
to
yeah,
hear that name again.
yeah. Laura's awesome.
And there's a few other businesses there in Yosemite Valley that I'm sure eventually I'll have here on the podcast as well. And I've heard great things just about all the different businesses that are there. And unfortunately, some have left, but I think it's great that there's other ones that are like stepping in and are able to continue, right, to make that street like just so great. And I
Yeah,
hope that there's other cities that have that and continue to have small businesses like that,
yeah.
and especially inside the neighborhood, right? Because it's literally around a neighborhood.
Right there. Yeah.
So I want to know a little bit more about your background, especially when it comes to face painting. So just tell me more about how you got into it and how you started your business About Face.
So I didn't set out to be a face painter. I growing up, I always wanted to be a teacher, and I didn't make that happen for myself for, life and other reasons. Um, but I started working with seniors, and I was working with seniors for a long, long time. I was doing activities like senior care. Um, I was doing activities, and then I got to a point where I was running like a memory care, like a dementia unit. A lot of times it's called. Um, and it was fun and it was fulfilling until it wasn't. Um, and I took a really long break, and I was making things. I was a crafter, and I was sewing stuff, and I was going to vendor shows, like vendor events, and doing pop-ups like that. And at one of the pop-ups that I attended, they were asking for a face painter, and I was looking for to try something new. And I said, "Are you looking for someone professional, or are you just like looking for anybody who has some kind of artistic skill?" And they're like, "Oh, we just need anybody today." So I bought like the tiniest little kit that I could find at I think at Michael's, and I tried it that day, and it was fun. It was fun, and the kids, oh God, it was so bad. It was so bad. Um, the designs that I did were terrible, but the kids really, really enjoyed it, and they didn't care. Like to a certain point, they just really liked it. And that kind of got me hooked from there, that they were so appreciative and so excited to just become this like, um, this Spider-Man or unicorn or whatever it is that they had asked me for. So I invested in the paints that I got, the designs that I was trying. And it's been 5 years now of my business, and it's been a lot of fun.
Wow, that's a interesting story. I think that people sometimes like, just some things don't work out, but then you end up finding out that, oh, I actually really enjoy doing something else. And it's just nice, right? How it just coincidentally happened to happen
Mhm.
since then. Yeah.
Yeah.
So as far as like the designs that you do, when you go out there, like do you have like a binder with like different designs, or like do you get like requests from people and then they'll send you a picture, or like how does that work?
It depends. So usually I personally like to work from a word board. I should have had it with me, but um so I have a list of all the designs that I do, and it'll have like a little graphic of what it is, just so that the kids that aren't reading at least have an idea of what that design is supposed to be. And you can adjust. If it's a fast event, you need to be able to adjust whether it's a small design, if it's going to be a full face, or if the kid is just really kind of a wiggly face scruncher kind of kid, you have to be able to adjust. So I think most face painters, most artists are that way, that they like for Spider-Man, they're going to have 4 or 5, maybe 6 different versions of what Spider-Man could be, just because the amount of time that you have, the person that's in your seat, how they're reacting to you touching their face and being really close, all kind of comes into play, and you never know until they're in your seat how that's going to go. So you really have to be thinking on your feet the whole time.
Oh yeah, right. You start and
Yeah.
you know how that's gonna work out. So when you first started your business, what were some of the biggest challenges that like you faced, especially as a new business owner, like just starting it?
Um, One of the biggest things I think was, I mean, not knowing how to do it, but thinking I was the best. Like I was so good, and I was just slapping paint on kids. And I look at those pictures now, and I'm just like, people paid me for this. But but that's okay. Everybody starts somewhere. We all have to just, you can practice as much as you want on like boards and on there's these like practice faces, that you can put like a little like piece of plastic over it. There's so much practice that you can do on these, but there's nothing like painting on an actual face, um, to really get you some real experience. And that was the thing, is being able to book enough parties, enough events to really get that like real life practice in. Um, One of the biggest challenges was that people, because I was so new, they were like, well, it'll be great exposure, right? We hear that a lot, especially for artists, not just face painting, but artists in general. It'll be great exposure for your business, and a lot of small businesses. And it's great. You want to get your name out there, but there's also that balance of having your name out there and being paid for the work that you're doing, even if you're brand new, right? You still want to be compensated for the time and the effort that you're putting in. So that was really the biggest challenge. 5 years in, I still get requests like, "Can you come and donate your time? Can you come and paint for free for this event?" And if it's something that I would support regardless, or if it's a cause that I believe in, right? Or if it's, a client or organization that has hired me in the past and we are on good standing, I don't mind negotiating. But it's still a challenge because people will call that you've never talked to and want you to come and provide a service for free. And I think that's very true whether you're a face painter or a musician or any kind of, like a muralist, any kind of artist. People want you to come and do stuff for free. Like, are you paying the taco guy? Is he selling tacos? Like,
Yeah, especially when, yeah, you're right. When they have other vendors there, it's like, well,
mhm.
they're getting paid. You're a vendor as well, so why should that be any different, right? Like, yeah, that's that's true. Or I would say, or at the very least, like pay for the materials, right? And
Something,
it's like,
yeah. There's
yeah,
there's a there's a negotiation that should happen. And don't get me wrong, there are plenty of events, and there are artists out there who are perfectly happy to do that. Um, I've just found that there has to be a conversation. It has to be something that you're willing to do. Um, and sometimes artists are doing that, or face paint artists are doing that in conjunction with selling other things. Like they are also a crafter, and they face painting as an attraction to their booth, which is great. But when the expectation is, well, it's just face painting, um, you should do it for free. And I'm like, well, if it's just face painting, why can't you have someone else? It's a sticky conversation that I'm willing to have sometimes, but um, not with people sometimes that I've never met, or are really pushy about it. And there are a lot of people that are really pushy about it.
oh wow, yeah. It's like, wait, you haven't met them and they're already. You can't
Yeah.
ask that. Yeah, yeah. No, that I see that, and I've heard that from, yeah, from other artists as well. That like people try to think that like, oh, just you can come and donate your time, but like, yeah, and like I guess you could also flip it on the same people, right? Would you donate your time as well? Like, I guess you need to put yourself in the
Mhm.
artist's shoes, right? And that, well, this is a business. That's why
Right.
it's called a business.
Right. Right.
um, well, let's talk about some of the events that you've face painted at. Like, just you told me a few stories, and maybe some of the ones that like have been your favorite thus far, that maybe have gone really good, that you've had a really good time at.
I have been very fortunate that I was hired by the city of Stockton for the 4th of July. There's a small team of us that we do face painting, and there's an artist that does balloons, the Twisty Balloon, Rocky's Faces, and Memorable Art B. That's her handle on Instagram. We've always done the 4th of July. I have also done Christmas in July at Pixie Woods. Um, there's uh, where else? Ripon Farmers Market, Main Street Days, Almond Blossom, um, Manteca. it was the street fair. It's the watermelon street fair now. The pumpkin fair. There's a lot of events. Oh, the pear fair in Cortland. There's a lot of events where I have a really good time, and I am really I'm really fortunate that I've gotten to do these events year after year, or have been hired for these really large events year after year, because of the service that we provide. People understand that families really enjoy face painting, and will continue to hire artists because they know that it's important for there to be activities for the whole family. Because face painting isn't ever just for the kids. We have so many adults that sit down and get a design and get glitter and are so happy leaving our booth. So it's always a good time.
Oh yeah, no, there's so many reasons to do face painting too. I mean, I'm a soccer fan, so I always have to bring that up
Yeah,
too. But when you're looking World Cup, right, people want their flag painted on their face, right? So I'm sure with other sports, there's probably like people who are really into it. They're like, hey, paint,
Oh, absolutely.
paint me the
Well,
49ers logo.
yeah, no, I've done that where somebody was going. I think they were going to an A's game, and they're like, "Well, can I just come by, or can you meet me somewhere and just paint my face, with the logo and or the colors?" I'm like, "Sure."
No, yeah, it works out too. You're just like, where are you going though? If it's this hot, I don't know how long
Yeah,
how long it'll last too, right? I mean, it also depends on like the temperature, right? I mean, like if you're stepping out right now, it might not be the best,
it
right?
might. Well,
Yeah.
and that's the thing. It's like I think face painting has come so far since,
Mhm.
like, even when I was a kid. Um, way back in the day, people were using like acrylic paint and or like poster paints, and they were just doing really small, like a happy face or a star, like just little things, right? But painting has come so far, or face painting has come so far. A lot of the times you'll have these are all dirty, but you'll have these that are like water activated. Um, but now we have what these are called. These are Pro Air, that are alcohol based, so they don't sweat off. There's a lot of different products that can be used. So if you're having a pool party, if you're having, 112-degree
Oh.
heat, your face paint's not running off your face.
Oh, wow. Well, that's really good. I'm glad they they
Yeah.
have that, especially yeah, for here in the valley, as you
Oh,
mentioned
yeah.
earlier. I mean, we're having like record temperature. It almost seems like it too. So I'm glad
Yeah.
there's something. So if someone does want to get face painted and you're going to be outdoors, that you don't have to worry about that.
Yeah. The face paint might not melt. The kids will, but the face paint will be on.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You might get some sunburn if you don't get sunscreen, but
Right.
that won't be there. Well, you were telling me a little bit more actually about community and all that too. So, of course, I want to ask you about how you engage with your local community, especially like through the business.
One of the big things is that um, I do volunteer, sometimes for different events, that are, private events for, foster youth, or be it, like some churches that I have worked with in the past that they're doing maybe a backpack giveaway, or I like heavily, heavily discount certain things. For my son's school as well, like I will volunteer my services, um, for whatever event they're having. Um, or, they've been very kind where they're like, well, can we buy you something to use that day? Um, and I'll pick something that's, like I think actually they bought me this one. So I like to give back. I do like to volunteer in my community. But I think kind of the meaning of community isn't just about, right where you live. In our industry, I've found that, there's about 10 different artists that are local, that, I'm in contact with constantly, that we are always talking. And if I can't do a booking, I reach out to my network and be like, hey, I can't take this. Is someone available? And I make sure that somebody's covered, a potential client, so that they're not looking, outside of our community for somebody that's, you know, some big company that's going to come in and pay the artist less because they're taking the booking. Um, but I do think that it's important to kind of work together, to not only to practice and to kind of share stories, but it's important to be able to talk to other people that are going through the same thing and having the same challenges in your business, um, because then you know that you're not crazy, because sometimes as a business of one you're like, wait, did I do that right? Like, is that what I should have said? Or maybe I should have handled this some more different. But it's good to have other people to kind of bounce ideas off of.
Yeah. No, that I'm really glad to hear that, and it's something that I've heard with other artists, right? And like other specialties, and
Mhm.
I hope it's inspirational for like other business owners to not see their competitors as that, right? Or like as anything
Right.
negative, but as like, hey, let's work together, and like you mentioned, right? Like let's, help each other out and learn best practices. And like you said, you're just like a one person team, so you can only do so much, and
Right.
sometimes events happen and you can't be everywhere, so it's great to be able to
I
help
try,
others
but
grow.
yeah.
You can only do so much, right? Yeah, as that. So it's really awesome to see that that's what you believe in. And again, I hope that other artists join the community and feel the same way, and no one feels like no one's stepping on each other's toes. And that's, again, like I said, I've observed that with face painters like yourself, and then with other people who do other things, especially in the art community. So glad it's that way.
Yeah. We at least the group that I'm a part of, we definitely try to cultivate that. It's not for everybody. Just like, you can live in a neighborhood and not everybody attends events. Not everybody is a part of that community, even though we all live in the same neighborhood. Um, I had mentioned earlier that I live here in, close to Yosemite Street Village, and we have events all the time, and I help put on the events. And along with other people in the neighborhood and the business owners, we make sure that we are bringing things to the neighborhood that we would want to attend, that we want to do. And that's really important for me to kind of create this space in my neighborhood that is safe for my kids, safe for other people's kids. Um, we're doing a night market on the 12th. Actually, this coming Friday, June 12th, July 12th. God, I'm so behind. Um, and there's live music, and Chad over at the music store actually has music every Friday night in Umbrella Alley on Yosemite Street. And there's just so many things that we're all working on to kind of create that sense of community in our neighborhood.
That's perfect that you have a night market, especially with, again, the temperatures the way they are right now. It's like it's nice to have something to do once the sun's out, or once the sun's not out, I should say.
Right.
But is that something that will be happening like more often as well, or is it for now it's just like this Friday and then we'll see
So
when?
we actually have Yosemite Street Village has a night market once a month. It's on the second Fridays. So this Friday, and then August, and then the last one is in September. Um, but we also do our annual block party for National Night Out, which is August 6th. And we shut down the street, and I think we had maybe like 700 people out last year. It's really a lot of fun. There's music, there's games, there's all kinds of community resources. The Stockton Kings will be joining us this year, along with the Cargo, and I'm blanking on names right now, but there's a ton of local resources and community um, people that will be joining us. And um, yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun.
Wow. No, like I said, I'm really glad to hear all the things that are going on there in that street. I mean, I've been there a few times already, and as I mentioned already, interviewing Laura and getting to check out other businesses. It's just really awesome what you guys have going on. It's more than just the a street with businesses. It's like you do more for the community there and all that. So I'm glad to hear that.
We do try.
Um, but I want to know a little bit more about what your future goals are for your business. Do you maybe plan to be a multi-person business sometime, or like what are your plans?
It's definitely an idea that I've toyed with. I said last year that I needed to hire somebody to help this year. But I don't know. I do try to stay pretty busy. Sometimes on purpose, sometimes not, just because I've learned that I don't know how to say no, but I do. I like if it's something that I want to be a part of and I'd like to take on, then I say yes. I don't know. I'd like to hire more people, but I also feel like I would be really picky, um, because there's a certain level of service that I would like to provide, and I don't know if I can be that boss yet that is trying to create that level of service. Um, I'm not sure yet. I want to, but I don't know how I'd go about it just yet.
Yeah, no, that's understandable. I mean, you start something and then it's like it takes time to figure out who you add and all
Right,
that. Because it's all about the image of whatever you start, right? You want to make sure it stays the same and the mission doesn't change, right? So,
right.
yeah, that's but um I want to know, like, I know you're going to be at like a few different events. I'm sure, like, just in the rest of the year here. What are some of those events that you'll be at here locally, and maybe like if you travel outside of the area?
So, in July, I'll be doing. Sorry, I'm looking at my calendar. I'm going to be doing the actually Michelle Padilla is our councilwoman, or I think she's District 1. Don't quote me on that. I can't remember. I'm doing her annual block party on the 20th, and then on the 27th, when Pixie Woods has their Christmas in July, I'll be face painting there. And then in a couple of weeks at the end of July, I always go to Cortland, up in the Delta, and then I do the pear fair there. And they've been really awesome, where they also, um, the committee that they have, they also hire face painters. So that face painting is free all day during their festivities.
Well, they're going to keep you pretty busy.
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah, I like to stay busy. I don't ever like to just kind of sit around in my booth just waiting for people. I like the fast pace um, of like festivals.
Oh yeah, no, and especially in a festival like that where like they pay for it, it's free for everyone that's going. I think it's great that they support like local vendors like yourself and
Mhm.
that way, right? And also bring in more people. And I'm sure that like some of the people that are probably going, especially when it's like free, that they go through it and then they're probably asking you, right? Like, oh, can you do this birthday party? Can you do this
Mhm.
event here, right? You probably get more referrals right through events themselves.
Yeah, a lot of times people will say that, "Oh yeah, I saw you at at Pumpkin Fair, or I saw you at Pixie Woods, or I saw that you were there at the 4th of July and you were there all day." It definitely helps, but I think the majority of my bookings tend to come from word of mouth. Like they see me at a party, they see me at an event, and they have to have something in mind. I was like, oh wait, I'm having a party next month, or hey, I'm starting to plan my kid's party. I've had moms who are already planning their kid's first birthday. And the kid's like a couple of months old, and they're like, okay, I need to book you for next July or for next, whatever. And I'm just like, hey, I'm with you. Like, I like to plan things out like that. Um, especially for like summer months, and October is just wild. It's so crazy busy. So that when parents are like, "Hey, I want to book you for next October," I'm like, "Okay, give me a date. Like, let's do it now."
Yeah, no, you almost have to have a similar to how I schedule the interviews, right? Like a
Oh,
Calendly
absolutely.
thing and send it
Yeah.
out, and it's like pick your time.
Yeah. No, and that's exactly, I use a different service, that because then I can send out invoices and contracts all within the
Mhm.
same thing.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
but it keeps me on track because um when I was first started out and I was doing paper calendars and everything, it was really hard to kind of keep track of everything. And even now, there are still days where I'm just like, oh my gosh, I double booked, or I have something that has come up and I planned this so far out in advance that now I've got a family thing. Or but again, it comes back to that community that we've created, that I can reach out to my network and be like, hey, does anyone have availability for this date and time? Um, and I've been really, really fortunate that someone has always kind of stepped up and been like, yeah, I can take that booking from you. Um, and typically families are very understanding. They're like, yeah, I know things happen, and they just want somebody there. They want somebody that's going to provide the service. And a lot of times it's like, oh, we really like for you to do it, but we understand. And um, but sometimes, families are like, okay, whatever. I don't care as long as someone's here. So as long as it's covered, it's okay.
Yeah, as long as it's covered, and then like it's like price wise, I'm sure like you
Oh, yeah,
tell them like, hey,
absolutely.
this is price, right? The same thing, and all that. But yeah, like I said, I'm really glad that you guys have a network like that, and I mean, I'm sure it's like even if it's not you, like they know that you're referring them to another artist that is like capable of doing that, right? So it's like they have like all the trust, and I would feel like hey, I trust you, and if this is who you're referring us to, like that's all great, right? Because we know
Right.
that like you're giving a word of mouth, right? So it's like
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
so that's awesome. Well, I got one last thing for you, but before I get to this, thank you for being on here, of course.
Thank you.
But where can people follow you at, check you out if they want to book something for their next event, or whatever is happening in the future here, especially as your schedule gets filled up, just to get him
Yeah.
on the schedule.
The easiest way is to go to my Instagram, about face 209. You can go to my website. For whatever reason, people always have trouble with the booking form, but it's linked in the bio in my Instagram. So about face 209. You can always text me. I mean, I have gotten texts at 1 o'clock in the morning from moms, and I get it. If I'm awake, I will text them back and be like, "Hey, you text me, so hope this is okay." Um, but she actually has ended up being one of my longtime clients, because she's like, "You get it. Moms are up late. We're trying to do a million things,
Mhm.
and you know, people forget that there's a person on the other end sometimes." But if I'm up, I will text back, and if they don't text back, it's okay. They can text me. But um, the easiest and fastest way would probably be on my Instagram.
Awesome. Yeah, well, that's interesting that when in the morning, but it works out, right? You were the one
So,
to
yeah.
respond. Everyone else
Mhm.
was sleeping while you're still
Right.
there. Awesome. Well, Brenda, this has been really great. It's been
Thank you.
really awesome to just to hear all the whole story, and hopefully I can go to one of those events that's going on there in Yosemite Street, because they all sound really fun.
Yeah.
And it just again, just keep doing what you're doing. I'm really glad that you're helping to continue to create the community in Stockton as a whole, because I've been interviewing a lot of people from Stockton here on the podcast, and I just keep hearing more and more things that everyone is doing, and that makes me really happy, because I have family in Stockton, and I've been over there so many times, and it's great to see just how much the city is growing, but thanks to people like you.
Thank you.
All right. Well, everyone, thank you so much for listening to the podcast as usual. Again, the 209journey.com is the place for you to listen and also watch recordings just like we are on video right now as well. And also, if you want to contact me, that is the place to do so. So, that being said, everyone, I hope you have a good morning or good night whenever you're listening to this, and you'll hear me in a few days here on the 29 Journey podcast.